Hello, everyone. GM. Welcome back to another episode of Overpriced JPEGs. This is a special episode today because we are talking to a couple of different audiences here, and that is because who I have as my guests on the show. I am joined by three guests today: Jimmy Giannoupolous, director and writer and director of the film we're going to talk about today, 18 and Over; Vincent Harrison, founder at Ivy Gallery and Digital Native; and Ashley Benson, actress, producer, writer for our PLL, Pretty Little Liars stands out there. You will know her very well as the star of Pretty Little Liars. Thank you all so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are going to do a funny thing here today on Overpriced JPEGs, which is we are actually going to talk a little bit about what NFTs are, because we're not just speaking to our own insular Overpriced JPEG NFT obsessed audience. We are speaking to a broader audience of film and TV lovers here. So we want to make sure we give them the proper primer on really what we're talking about. And then we'll get into all sorts of questions, both about NFTs and about this film 18 and Over, which is releasing as an NFT, but also talk about some fun things when it comes to Ashley and Jimmy's careers and being in Hollywood. So before we dive into all that, though, we do need to hear a word from our lovely, lovely sponsors. MetaMask is the leading Web3 wallet to get you access to everything you need in Web3. If you're just getting started on your NFT journey, you need MetaMask. And if you need to fund your MetaMask account in order to buy that NFT that you've been eyeing, well, now you can do that directly through MetaMask. Just click the blue buy button on the home screen. Personally, I'm mad that I've spent extra gas fees transferring money from Coinbase to MetaMask in order to buy NFTs. I've been using MetaMask directly, and it is so much better. You can also buy stable coins and native tokens from Ethereum, Polygon, Avalanche, CeeLo, and others, and you can do it directly with your debit card, your credit card, through Apple Pay or Google Pay. And there is now an improved buying experience on MetaMask Mobile. You'll only see tokens that are in your region, so it's personalized to you, and you'll get real-time quotes, so you know you're always getting the best deal. If you haven't downloaded MetaMask yet, what are you waiting for? Go try it out. You can learn more about buying cryptocurrencies with MetaMask at metamask.io/buy-crypto.
Immutable X is the layer 2 platform for crypto gaming. Immutable offers massive scalability with up to 9,000 transactions per second and instant transaction confirmation. No more gas fees, no more waiting around for your transaction to clear. Immutable's zero-knowledge rollup finally unlocks the world of crypto gaming. Immutable X is the only gas-free NFT minting platform with over 26 million NFTs minted, all with zero gas fees. With the power of Immutable, gaming developers don't also need to become smart contract developers. They just need to plug in to Immutable's API and instantly start unlocking the full potential of crypto assets inside of games. This is why world-class companies and projects have decided to deploy on Immutable X, like GameStop, Ember Sword, Planet Quest, Illuvium, TikTok, and many more behind the scenes. So start building your game on Immutable X today at immutable.com.
All right. So it's NFT primer time. Again, Overpriced JPEGs listeners don't need this, but we are extending this to some of our new listeners here who are hopefully learning about NFTs for the first time. So the way I want to explain NFTs and maybe blockchain technology broadly is, Ashley, I want to ask you, what is the most valuable thing you own? And that could mean the most expensive thing or just the thing that has tremendous meaning to you.
I mean, this is like, I don't know. I would say my house in LA. And the reason being is because I've been working on it for like 2.5 years. I've literally like knocked it all down and rebuilt it basically. So yeah, I mean, is that like...
That's a fact. That feels like it has the double, it checks both boxes. I'm sure it's valuable in terms of it's one of the more expensive things you own, and it has sentimental value to you because you put a lot of your energy into it. Yeah. Well, and having a house that reflects something about you is actually a good metaphor for why NFTs matter, but we'll get into that in just a minute. So your house is valuable both monetarily and otherwise because it's scarce. There aren't just like infinite number of houses that are period, or houses that are the ones that you've sort of handcrafted. And scarcity is fundamentally what drives value. The fact that air is free is because there is an infinite supply, at least right now, and hopefully we don't destroy the planet and get rid of that someday. And for most of human history, there was no way to really have digital scarcity. There's been an interest in creating digital money since the advent of the internet, but in the early days of the internet, we didn't have a way. If you created a digital dollar, somebody else could come along, copy and paste that, create 1 trillion digital dollars, and now that money means nothing because it's not scarce. So what the blockchain fundamentally changed, and this was back in 2008, was a way to create scarcity for digital goods. So the first manifestation of that was money. That's when you have Bitcoin, which folks have almost certainly heard about. But what's happened in the years since Bitcoin is we've developed ways to not just put money on chain and make money scarce, but we've been able to create other digital assets and create scarcity there. So digital art, films, books, legal documents. There's all sorts of things now that are collectibles that have value for us as humans that we can create digital representations of and make them be scarce and therefore allow them to have value. So I know it can be a lot to take in, but that's fundamentally what this whole thing is about and why so many of us are really excited about this nerdy new field. Any questions, folks?
I mean, I have no idea anything with the NFT space. I mean, I've tried to talk to Jimmy about it too, and like I think we're in the same boat. It's very new to us, so this is kind of, cool to learn more about it, especially because it has so much to do with how we're putting our film out and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I know really nothing.
Well, go ahead, Jimmy.
Well, yeah. So yeah, like Ashley, speaking for both of us on that. I mean, something that I started that got my attention early on was when I first started talking with Vincent and Raya Films when they came up with they were kind of thinking about the idea of NFTs, NFT release for the film. And my first question was, well, what does that mean? What are people paying for? I just know it as a JPEG, and then, they give you access, you give them access. And then I'm like, all right, that's cool. And then you give them ownership. All right, well, that's cool. I have a whole bunch of vinyl records and DVDs. I'm like, all right. And then, just like unique sort of things. So then we came up with the idea to edit a collector's edition for like the NFT release. Is like that version of the film is a little different than the final version of the film. There's a few extra added little moments. And so I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's something special. And then these features and Twitter Clubhouse things and like behind the scenes stuff. Like it's just always reminded me of like a Blu-ray and like the extra features you get. But in the digital space to put it on your digital shelf, right? Because that kind of world is expanding. And I think that that's really interesting and cool to collect it like that.
Yeah, you're touching on something interesting that I think also ties to what stood out to me about Ashley's answer of like, my house is important to me because I've also worked so long to like make it what I want, which is you mentioned like, I thought of NFTs as just JPEGs. I think a lot of people look at this industry and they look at these weird apes that are selling for like hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're like, what the actual F? Why? Like, what? This is so strange. And of course, I kind of joke on that. The title of this podcast is Overpriced JPEGs. But the reality is like, we all socially signal all the time. And like, culture matters because we like to say things about ourselves, and the way we dress says things about ourselves. The way we design our house says things about ourselves. And, we present ourselves digitally in all sorts of ways now on social media. And that says something about who we are as people. The films we watch say something about ourselves. So we're in this era now where we can show who we are by the films we watch. And we can do that in a digitally native way with things like, I'm going to have a film as a digital collectible that's in my digital wallet that now people can go check out which films I love. I love erotic horror, which I know is the genre for this film. So I want to show off 18 and over in my digital wallet to say something about who I am. Vincent, do you want to chime in here? I know you're obviously on the NFT side of this and like why this project and releasing a film as an NFT and a film as a digital collectible was exciting to you?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been traditionally in the art business for 12 years. We've had galleries in LA, New York, and we've grown physical artists' careers to quite a high level where they're in museums and getting seven figures at Sotheby's and Christie's. So it was actually the Winklevosses who own Nifty Gateway that brought me into the space and asked for help getting Nifty Gateway off the ground. And it was interesting to me, their version of kind of NFT adoption, which was use a credit card, anyone can get on board and own a digital thing. And as far as kind of the background knowledge goes, it's okay, I know that the record of ownership and transaction sits on the blockchain. I know that's immutable, therefore I own my digital thing, whether that's art or whatever else that could be. So I thought that was interesting. So we grew quite a few artists in the space, putting Beeple, Whizbee, Superplastic, a lot of the big guys through 2020 that blew up, and kind of proving some models in different industries as well. And it was interesting to see everything hit. But I think what the space forgot is art and collectibles is a niche thing in the real world. And commerce in the physical world, the real world, whatever you want to call it, also does kind of reflect in this digital space. So as you just mentioned, using, a Bored Ape as your kind of flex status on social media, and people thinking the value of it is crazy, no different to a tribe who thinks handbags at $5,000 is okay. There's also the rest of the world that doesn't. Same way as $140 million for a Warhol auction is okay to a certain tribe. The rest of the world thinks it's crazy. So there's nothing new here. It's just the digital version of it for the first time. So what we've been trying to do is plug in directions that make more sense for kind of a long-term use of digital things to own on the blockchain. And movies make a total sense. No one owns movies anymore. And we all used to love owning movies. I'm old, so I remember having DVDs on my shelf and cool covers and cool art. And we don't have a version of ownership of film. So I think it's cool that we can now give back ownership of film, and what that can be has so many more layers to it. And that's why I've chosen I wanted to work with these guys on this film, because there's built-in community here already. A lot of the PFP projects are trying to build force economics, force community, and it ends up being a group of guys that just hope they sell their things for more tomorrow than they pay today. Whereas, I'm been talking to some of Ashley's super fans. She's got like hundreds of dedicated super fans that already are the community and are already so pumped about everything she puts out. Jimmy he was a huge musician and producer before he got into movies. He's made some cool movies too. So he has an audience already that wants to interact and talk with him that will come over. So it's inherent with kind of musicians and especially actors as well, that the community, and we can bolt all this together and make kind of the perfect version of a PFP. So film just made total sense for that.
So we'll talk about like practically what does this mean if you're a huge Ashley fan, like how to get in on this, like from a practical standpoint, and what does it all really look like. But let's do some fun questions and get people out of the weeds of NFTs for a little bit. So one thing I know you're excited about, Vincent, and that I'm fascinated by is like, how is blockchain going to change storytelling and what and how stories get made and told? I think social media really broke open the landscape as well and has totally changed Hollywood in terms of what stories get told, how they get told. Ashley, I'd love to know from your perspective, you started your career long before social media was a thing, and then you've very much been an actress during this era of social media. How has that impacted your career, and how have you seen it impact Hollywood?
I have like a love-hate thing with social media. I think it's an amazing platform. Obviously the industry has changed as a whole because of it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, for me, it's just a thing to kind of get used to. But yeah, I remember, I think the first season of PLL is when like Twitter came out. I'm pretty sure. And that was kind of the first thing. And then Instagram. And then now you have, 50 platforms that everybody uses. But it took me a while to understand why it was important. And, I think what I've come to realize, like, yeah, it's a great way for your fans to get to know you personally. But also if you have businesses or you're promoting things, it's just free publicity for anything that you have coming out. And it is a really great platform to, kind of show off movies, trailers, behind the scenes, things that I'm working on with business wise. It's a great platform to do, but it's just a weird thing because I'm like, sometimes I hate social media, but then for things like this, it's, a very smart business kind of thing, I guess. I don't know.
Did you get on Instagram? Were you early on Instagram?
Yeah, since it came out, yeah.
And was that like your choice? Did Hollywood get it instantly where they were like, get on this platform because we need you to promote the show or this or that? Or were they more skeptical of it? I'm saying that like Hollywood is one entity, but
No,
you
yeah.
understand.
I think when Instagram came out, I mean, from what I remember, it was more of just like, okay, we're just going to put, random photos of, my day or whatever. For us on PLL, and like I think for a lot of TV shows and films at that point, it was all about Twitter. So it'd be like we'd have to live tweet. And I was like, I don't understand why we have to do this. And then it's like, okay, you're engaging with the fans. You have all these interactions. And like, it just gets everybody a little bit more excited and talking about X, Y, and Z. And then as Instagram kind of came along more like 3 years later, I think that's when I finally started seeing change. And then you have like all these like TikTok, whatever, like it's a lot. But yeah, I think that it took like a year or whatever for people to understand the positive side of social media. And then once we did, I mean, it just made sense. And now obviously everybody is on one of these platforms for, whatever they're doing. But I think it definitely helps. And I think it gets more viewers, it gets more buyers, it gets people more engaged and excited. So, yeah.
Do you think it's changed what stories Hollywood tells? Like,
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think now because, everything is on your phone, on your iPad, whatever, everybody has a phone, an iPad, a laptop with them at all times. And so I think now everything is just more instant, like instant gratification. And so I feel like it's kind of changed the film industry a lot. I mean, I really miss films from like 20 years ago, 15 years ago. People aren't making that now because it's kind of what's in the time, what's popular right now, and the trend, which is a little disappointing, but I get it. But yeah, I think social media has changed Hollywood in a big way. And yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out.
yeah, I would. One of the positives, it seems to me, is that it does put a microphone up to like the public, which can carry with it challenges. But I think it's also been a big tool for calling for like better roles for women or for people of color. And it strikes me that some of the more diverse stories that we've gotten of the last maybe decade have been from calls from social media. Does that feel true to you being inside the industry?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, I mean, anytime that you're on one of these platforms like this and there's something big going on in the world or whatever, it's nice to all kind of unite and, we're able to share our voices and have it be shown on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And it just gets people talking more about, important causes and all of that. That's where I think we benefit from social media, because you do raise awareness of the important things other than like, oh, look at my outfit, da, 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 da. You can make it a platform where, you are talking about things that people are too scared to talk about, and bringing attention to things that people don't necessarily think about. And it's just kind of in the back of their minds. And so, that's nice. And that's a great way for us in the industry to be able to speak our opinions, but also anything that anyone says is always either backfired or, it's positive. You could be saying anything, good or bad, and there's either going to be a negative thing from it or a positive thing. You just kind of have to go with it. But that's what like tricky. But yeah, I don't know if that made sense. But.
It did. Jimmy, I'm curious for you as a director, is there any role that like, call it social media or call it just like the internet? Does it play a role in how you think about shooting something, approaching a project at all?
Well, it definitely plays a role in the process on a lot of different levels. For example, Ashley and I went back and forth, and Vincent, and we put together a promo for 18 and over and narrowed it down to what we wanted creatively. And Ashley posted the the clip online, and it was like over like 1.5 million people in like 24 hours like saw this clip that we, the creator, like, you know, as one of the creators, like we made it, and then she posted it, and then over 1 million people saw it in less than 24 hours. Like I don't, and I've been in music for a long time, so I've put out hundreds of songs and like content and videos and everything and before social media, there was only a few empire places that can do turnover like that. Very, very, very few places that can kind of like do that. And now, like Ashley's social media presence has more pull than most PR like magazines, blogs. You know what I mean? Like we can post something on XYZ blog that's like super successful and popular, and we'll get 5,000 hits on something we're trying to share with something we created, and then, you know, Ashley post something on her IG and we'll get over 1 million. So like it definitely plays a role in how you market. As far as creatively, the film 18 and Over, actually, it deals a lot with obsession and isolation, and there's webcamming, and there's reality TV, and there's a lot of stuff in it that kind of play on what we're talking about here. So as far as like the material from what we wrote, yeah, we were inspired by culture, and that's such an important part of culture, social media and all that, Twitter and everything. I even just saw, on a side note, I saw something the other day. I was on Instagram and I saw somebody, there was like somebody I know, their handle, and it said XYZ subscription, $4.99 a month, and you can subscribe now on Instagram. So if you follow somebody, if you pay, then you get access. You get a subscriber badge, exclusive content, subscriber group chat. It's like they're giving, like, even like the basic social media platforms now are finding a way to monetize for the users, to monetize those spaces, to give people access to things. And it's kind of like what we're using this NFT space for, right? Like we're using it to, like, you know, come along and let's join our community, and then we as the creators could share with other creators and the audience fluidly in real time.
And what you're getting at there with the fact that you can now subscribe to somebody's Instagram, and you can do this on Twitter too, where you can pay a creator directly, or you can super follow a creator, is this era of pretty intense creator empowerment, where social media has put a lot of power into the hands of individuals, because if they can build up a following, you know, you have a lot of leverage in any business negotiation you're going into if you've got 23 million people who will, you know, track whatever you post. And I think NFTs, the reason we're optimistic about it is that should be a further extension of that. So right now, Instagram owns your followers, right? If Instagram chooses to kick somebody off a platform, that's gone. And you as the individual creator, while you're more empowered than you were previously, are still really at the hands of any specific platform. And Adam Mosseri, who's actually the CEO of Instagram, has been pretty positive about NFTs and has talked about this specifically as a way for creators to start owning their audiences in really distinct ways. So now suddenly you release a digital collectible to your audience, and your Instagram fans all get that for free, say. And this is now a direct line you have to them, and really a communication line in its own way that can't be taken away from you. So, and in fact, can be taken really from platform to platform. And so that's one of the reasons Adam has talked about Instagram has been adding features around NFTs. But I think it's this really exciting new era of like creators getting to not only have leverage because of their followers, but also own that following in a way that's pretty distinct. Vincent, I'd love to get your take on this. And you've sort of spoken about, I think last time we talked about, you see NFTs as a new way to get creative work made, and for, I think, new people to really break into the space in ways that hasn't really previously been possible. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, we learned a lot of lessons kind of through the art wave of 2020. And it's actually very similar talking with Ashley. It was all artists that I knew and artists that I liked, I wanted to bring into this new space. I thought we could turn it into something, and they were like, well, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know anything about it. And then bring them in. They see some things happening. They engage with a whole bunch of new collectors, and it's a very close connection. Like you said, no one can get in the way of it. No one can stop that connection. And it became very empowering for them, more so than social media, because you now have this community that have not only paid to be there, it's a limited amount of that community, and again it becomes a kind of a lot more rewarding for both parties as well. It's still a bit disjointed on social media, and so these artists trusted me with these crazy digital direction. And I've got some great texts from Beeple back in October 2020 going, what? No, I haven't got time for this. And I'm going to sell it as an NFT one day. But it's just like a whole bunch of other, yeah.
How much money did he make? How much money did Beeple make on his NFT?
Well, about the money. $69 million. I'll answer this. Vincent's going to be morally high ground and be like, it's not about the money. $69 million was the famous headline. He's made more than that, but his 500 days NFT made headlines for selling for $69 million, which we should say tells you the maturity of this space, that you'll find things are often in 69s or 420s tends to be the numbers that people use.
Yeah. No, so it was cool to bring to similar conversation. I know what the hell's going on, but we'll trust you to run with it, because I had a relationship with them before and I've done things. But so it's very similar with Ashley. She trusts Jimmy. She trusts the movie direction as the main creator, and let's give this a go. And I think as Jimmy's finding now, it's becoming very rewarding to enter this space, especially because you've hit on some really good things as you're talking to Ashley about how social media has changed Hollywood. And it's not just social media that's changed Hollywood. It's everything has changed. I mean, Netflix, streaming, there's so many economic aspects that have changed Hollywood. Now it's very difficult for Jimmy to make whatever movie he wants and not think, what do I need to do to make this attractive to streaming platforms? What do I need to sell it? Beeple didn't make his everydays for 13 years thinking, who can I get to buy this? He made it because he wanted to make it. And that's what 1.5 million people responded to on Instagram and wanted to follow him even before he tried to sell it. He'd never sold a thing before before the Nifty drop, even physical art, a couple of prints. So what we want to aim to do is we did a big thing about the digital space is we took these illustrators like Beeple, like Bill Ellis, a lot of the big guys that were just illustrators. They will work for hire. They never monetized their own creativity before. And in the fine art world, what differentiates kind of the fine artist or the artist and the illustrator is the fact that the artist gets to do whatever the hell he wants. No one's telling him what to do, and then you find an audience for it. In the movie business, you have to kind of guess what will sell. But now, with this direct relationship with the consumer through blockchain and the creator of the movie, now the movie maker can be freed up to be an artist in the true sense of the word, make whatever the hell they want to make. So we're launching a few short film platforms in this direction as well for the NFT space.
And maybe let's spell that out for folks. So, and this will get us into a little bit of that nitty gritty. We'll start teasing it as we go here. But effectively, you're selling 10,000 NFTs. If you buy one of these NFTs, you get to see the movie early. You get to go to the premiere of it in LA if you're able to get to LA. And for y'all, you'll then also, when you go to sell to streamers or to a distributor of some sort, you'll get to say, hey, look, we have 10,000 people, though in all likelihood, a couple people buy more than one. So you sell 10,000 NFTs and it's to 5,000 people or whatever it is. But hey, we have this community of people that's already behind this film. It's giving you leverage in that conversation with the streamers, because we have these people who are really excited about this film. Netflix, you should want this on your platform, and you should compete with Amazon Prime, who also wants it on their platform, because look at this community we've built. Is that what you're talking about when you say it's giving powers back to the directors in the way that maybe artists have power?
Exactly.
To make what they want?
You can create what you want and build an audience for that, and then you're proven to the studio. So that's definitely one aspect of it, where the studio won't see you as such an unknown bet, because you've proven yourself, you've proven you can monetize, and you've proven you've got an audience. And it's not just the actual number of sale of NFTs, it's the hype that comes around it as well, because it's getting a lot of attention. It was in all the press, so there's going to be a ton of people that want to get in on it and want to see the movie, but they couldn't because they didn't get in on the NFT for whatever reason. So we create hype, create exclusivity for this aspect of it. But from a kind of a consumer perspective, if you're just looking at this as a someone that likes film, this really is kind of the Blu-ray box set before the movie comes out. And obviously we don't have Blu-ray box sets anymore. And if you're under 20, you don't know what a Blu-ray is. So it's the new version of film ownership, of true ownership of film. The blockchain obviously gives you true ownership of a digital thing, and now we can do that with film. So what we're doing here is a bigger version of it. It's a way I think we can make film work for the benefit of the whole industry for some of the points we've said, but also we're kind of bringing it in a way that makes sense to some of the NFT crowd that are already here who like the PFP type project. But we're not financing anything. We're not asking you to finance anything. There's no faith. It's already made. It was $2.5 billion to make this movie, and now it's being given out to the fans. So I use an analogy for non-NFT people. This is like buying a Star Wars figure before Star Wars comes out, and then when you've got your Star Wars figure, you can go and hang out with George Lucas and the cast of Star Wars. You get to own Star Wars before anyone else does, and when it comes out at the movies, you get to go to the premiere, hang out with the talent. And then when the movie goes to traditional distribution, you also get a little kickback for holding your Star Wars figure. So
and you still have the exclusive cut.
Yeah. So you own your own cut of the movie, you own your Star Wars figure, and you still get access to talk to now Jimmy as George Lucas in Discord and do some cool things.
Right.
We've got Lindsay Pellas, who's in the movie, coming into Discord next week. We're doing so. It's just we're going to keep it going with this new version of fandom. And so it's good for everyone. That's the idea. It's good for the creators of films. It's good for the major studios. You can monetize as a filmmaker earlier now in your career. And then the fans get a whole another level of experience to ownership and engagement with the movie IP.
You teased something there that I know I want to talk about later. I don't want to double down on it now, but you mentioned this little kickback that is something that I'm fascinated by because folks who've listened to this show a lot will know I've dabbled in my own way on advising like film projects on NFT strategies. And, so there's something there that I want to talk about. But before we go there, and I'll tease that for the end, maybe, I've always thought about this in sort of two waves, right? You've got NFTs on the front end of a project, and then you have NFTs on the back end of the project. You just mentioned like Star Wars. Well, obviously more people were interested in Star Wars collectibles after the film had come out. And that's when like the real fandom exploded. What do you think the, total addressable market is in the future for folks who want to buy NFTs early on the front end of a project? And how much do you think that y'all benefit right now from being early adopters to this?
This is tough now. This is, again, we as we did with art in 2020, no one knew what the hell was going on. We're banging on lots of doors, and we would sell. We're lucky if we did $5,000 with selling a Wisby collection. But it was proving a model. I knew there was something to this. I knew there was a future, and then obviously now all the artists that we work with have made millions of dollars, and they're all very happy driving around in their Lamborghinis. But with movies, these guys are brave to put this out there like this. This is tough to make work, and there will be skepticism from the outside world and skepticism from the NFT world that wants everything to be about kind of a financial instrument and the monetary aspect. So, but we all believe that this is just as beneficial to filmmakers as it is to artists, and this is a way to carve out that path. So it's about being pioneers more than anything. This is no one's getting rich off this direction. I mean, it's not. It won't even make the budget of the movie back, and so if it breaks even, it's good. But we're proving a model, and there's a whole bunch of other film projects lined up behind this.
So Ashley, you talk about this sort of fraught relationship with social media. And again, digital identity is a huge part of what NFTs are really about, being able to show off your digital identity in all sorts of different ways. And right now we've seen it mostly in these like weird PFPs that people make their pictures on Twitter that everybody outside of this world finds really strange. But I see it ending up where you have your digital bookshelf of the books you love and the movies you love. And it's sort of bringing back that art that's really been lost because now we all listen to music on Spotify and watch things on Netflix and we don't own this art anymore. How do you see your digital identity differing from your IRL identity?
I don't know. With me, I really like to just always be completely true to who I am. Like, there are certain people who want to have a different persona to their following. And I'm very much about like, this is me, no bullshit, whatever, just very real. So for me, I just think, it's kind of learning and like I said, I really only know like Instagram and I don't really even tweet anymore, but like now with TikTok, I've seen how well that is doing. And, with business and, again, promoting films and shows or whatever, it's huge. And sometimes actually, it's bigger than Instagram because it's a completely different thing. So I've now been kind of figuring out TikTok just to figure it out. And I've been putting a little bit of stuff on there too. But it's interesting because, when I go to promote this film, it's like I could put things on Instagram with like the trailers and all that stuff. But then, let's just say like we have the premiere next week for the NFTs. I could do a whole story on TikTok and get two different audiences, some who may follow me on Instagram, some who don't. But yeah, I mean, it's a wild place to be. And I think the more that I understand it, I'm just seeing all the benefits of it.
So we've been talking about this digital bookshelf, right? Where now you put your DVDs on there and you show people what movies you love and maybe you put books on there. What would be on your digital bookshelf? Have your NFT wallet. What movies really reflect something about you or books or CDs?
18 and over.
Yeah.
Oh, is my mic on? Sorry.
Kind of a mix of everything. I think film wise, like every Darren Aronofsky movie, Harmony's films, anything pretty much dark-ish. But then I'll have like, dumb rom-coms that like I'm obsessed with. Like Bridget Jones' Diary, I watch almost every single day because it's just like, woo, good time.
Yeah.
And then CDs, I don't know, like anything in the, mid to late 90s, early 2000s, I've really been kind of hitting the throwback playlist a lot because I'm just kind of getting bored right now because Spotify has all those like, top hits, whatever. I've listened to it 1,000 times, so I'm just going back. Or I would have like a bunch of jazz records. I'm a huge jazz fan. Chet Baker is like one of my favorite singers. Billie Holiday, all that. So kind of, I don't know, random mix of a bunch of stuff.
We also have talked about how NFTs are about changing this relationship between the creator and the fan and really deepening that relationship and allowing the creator to have a lot more control over that relationship. You have this incredible fan base. How do you feel like you've really nurtured that and maintained that throughout the years?
I don't know. I think, again, it's just kind of being, myself and relatable to the fans. I never want to put myself in a position where they don't understand me and who I am. And, doing little things like going to events for Comic-Con or even doing lives on Instagram and being able to communicate and kind of hear what they want and like what they're interested in and, what their likes are. And also get their feedback. When we first put out the first clip for 18 and over, that image that we used is pretty
the first
there,
video or the first? Oh yeah.
Yeah, the first video. And I was thinking, I was like, it might be too much. Like it might be too much. But again, working with Jimmy, I've always been like, let's push it a little bit further. Let's not play it safe. So we did. And Jimmy and I were very much like, this is it. And I remember taking or doing that scene and then also the stills from that scene that day in Big Bear. And I was like, this is the fucking poster. Like, this is it. This is the image. And
you in the bathtub?
It really is.
For anybody who, it's the you in the bathtub scene and image.
Yeah. And so, yeah, we put it out and, like Jimmy said, I called him and I was like, holy shit, like it was at 1 million by the end of the day. and even more than that. So I think it was just, I mean, it's just so crazy to see it kind of explode. And like certain things that you put on social media too, some don't get as much attention and like other things do, but that post definitely did. And I think it's a really great way to get people talking about our movie.
Taking bold bets. This is your second movie that the two of you have worked on together. Is that right?
Mm-hmm. It's our second.
What works so well about the collaboration between the two of you that made you want to do another movie together?
Well, I can speak for me on my end. We did the birthday cake, and it was Ashley and Jeremy Allen White and Shiloh Fernandez and Clara McGregor, and there was this bakery scene, and then Luis Guzman. And Ashley in that Ashley showed up and knocked it out of the park. That's the easiest way for me to say it. And in between, I think in between scenes, you were watching, what's that Jennifer Aniston? I watched it because you were watching it there. What's that show where the newsroom show? What's that latest Jennifer Aniston show?
With Reese Witherspoon.
With
it's
Reese Witherspoon.
The Morning Show.
I remember we're
show,
about to call, like we had, the cast was stacked. So like I worked at that point, like, with so many people, and, everyone has their different kind of approaches, but it's funny because I remember I was working with Ashley, and then she was like, I'm like, all right, we're going to go. And then I remember Ashley just like pausing it and jumping in, and she just knew it so well. She was prepared. She got it. And like, I didn't have to say much. Like, you just understood it, because Ashley and I have made music before. We were working on developing another film, Tokyo Terror, in the past that it was just kind of like our first introduction to that. So we know each other and our sensibilities pretty well. And that was really fun. Her scenes in the birthday cake were there were some of my favorites in that film, and a lot of people's. And then we did 18 and over, and I remember watching Ashley in between takes for 18 and over, and it was kind of like everyone was going through a lot when we shot this film. It was the middle of the pandemic. There was a lot of stuff going on in the world. There was a lot of stuff going on in everybody's lives, like it was very, very weird time. And I remember Leo Scott, the editor, and I sitting there and watching Ashley before and after takes, and kind of seeing, you can really, as a director, contrast how great an actor is when they can turn it on and just kind of like just land it. And I watched her be such a pro and be able to do it. But then I saw this vulnerability before and after that I didn't see on set, because I wasn't asking for it. I was asking for the fastballs. And then, so even when I saw that, I saw a whole other layer to Ashley. So now Ashley and I are developing a third film together, which is a love story. And that's basically like, that's the opposite of kind of an 18 and over. That's like, what do you do before and after the take? Just a full vulnerability. So I've been able to experience like all different sides of like Ashley, even like as a person, what she said earlier, just being authentic, even on social media. It's even like that with the films, and when she shows up and acts. So for me, like there's just, as a director, Ashley is the type of person you want to hire, period, because she's just got it. She's authentic. She can show up. She can do, I mean, look at the people that she's worked with so many auteur directors, you know what I mean? Like from Alex Ross Perry, who I love, to Harmony Korine, to like all these different people. There's a reason for her, like she's great. So for me, I just feel lucky that we're able to jam like that. And yeah.
Damn.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
There is a brand new staking feature in the Ledger Live app today. We all like staking the assets that we're bullish on, and now you can stake 7 different coins inside the Ledger Live app. Cosmos, Polkadot, Tron, Algorand, Tezos, Solana, and of course Ethereum. With Ledger Live, you can take money from your bank account, buy your most bullish crypto asset, and stake that asset to its network, all inside the Ledger Live app. Through a partnership with Figment, Ledger also lets you choose which validator you want to stake your assets with. And Ledger is running its own validating nodes, offering a convenient way to participate in network validation, and it even comes with slashing insurance. Ledger Live is truly becoming the battle station for the bankless world, so go download Ledger Ledger Live. If you have a Ledger already, you probably already have it, and get started securely staking your crypto assets. COINSHIFT is a leading treasury management and infrastructure platform for DAOs and crypto businesses who need to manage their treasury operations. Every crypto org needs to manage their treasury, and COINSHIFT offers a simple, flexible, and efficient multi-chain treasury management platform built on top of the extremely secure Gnosis Safe. With COINSHIFT, your organization can go from primitive single-chain treasuries to expressive, flexible, multi-chain features such as global user management, global contracts, proposal management, and many other features that can be shared across an entire organization. COINSHIFT layers on powerful treasury management tools on top of the proven security of Gnosis Safe, allowing users to save time and reduce operational burdens and gas costs. COINSHIFT even has data tools like account reporting across the 7 chains on which it operates. Used by industry powerhouses such as Uniswap Grants, Balancer, Consensus, and Messari, COINSHIFT is speeding up the coordination and efficiency of the organizations that use it. In DeFi, you have to keep up with the frontier, and COINSHIFT makes that easy. So sign up at coinshift.xyz/bankless.
Ashley, what is your approach to the work, and why are you able to go in and nail it like that?
I don't know. It's so funny. I think it really depends on who you work with. I mean, as an actor, my process is very different than other people's. Like I'm always prepared, but I like to really kind of go at it last minute because I want it to feel real. And sometimes when you rehearse multiple times, it becomes rehearsed. And I can always kind of see that. And I learned this from actually working with Harmony Korine. He was the first director I've worked with. And I think just growing up on TV, everything has to be exactly how it is on the page. So if you miss one tiny word, it can literally be and or whatever, they make you redo it most of the times because they want every word that's written. And when I got Spring Breakers, I was 21, and Harmony would have us rehearse every day for hours a day. And then the first day on set, he was like, forget the scripts, forget everything. You already know this. You know your character. You've been studying your character. You've been being this person. You've been being Brit. And he's like, so every scene, you already know what it's about. I want you to improv. And I had never really improv'd ever. But it was such a vulnerable place to be put in, especially with that kind of material for a movie. I mean, it was, more of a racier thing that I've done ever. And we were all just kind of, pretty young at that point. And so it was huge. I learned so much on that film, and I took away so much. And even just watching how Harmony's mind works and how he sees things really changed me as an actor. So going forward from that project, I always just wanted to do really authentic pieces and be completely real, because there's times where, I could all of a sudden think of something and it drives the scene in a whole different direction. And I made Jimmy aware of that, because there's little bits and pieces when you're in the moment and you're playing the scene out, but then something can just come to you out of nowhere, and it's like, holy shit, like that was a moment. That's incredible. And Jimmy's very much kind of about that. And like he said earlier, we've been friends for years, and we've spent many nights, me going down to his apartment in New York and writing and recording and talking about things that we both wanted to do, and talking about feeling stuck and not having the right projects come to you, and making our own stuff that we want to do, stories we want to tell, roles that I want to play. And Jimmy's been there the whole time. And like he said, we're about to kind of start a third project together, and this one's going to be even crazier, and we're doing it in a whole different way that we really haven't done before together. And yeah, I mean, it's just so fun when you can really collaborate with the people you're working with, and that they actually listen to you, and your ideas can be thrown out there, and they can either be tossed out, or it's like, dude, that's fucking awesome, So it's really cool to work with people that are willing to work with you as an actor, and not just put you in front of a camera and be like, do everything that's on there. And
I heard you say somewhere that you started writing as well. And part of that was stemming from wanting to write the characters that you wanted to be able to play, because you weren't always finding them in the industry.
I think it really happened in the pandemic. I mean, I'm still very new to writing. I kind of just have this idea, and I usually call up Jimmy and I'm like, dude, what about this? Like, come over. That's kind of how it goes. And I give them my ideas and how I see it kind of play out of my mind. And then, I give it to Jimmy and he just cranks it out and creates an amazing script. But yeah, writing is very much something that I'm interested in. It's difficult for me, but I think just coming up with ideas and having creative partners to work with together to get these ideas made is really great. And that's what Jimmy and I have been doing now for it's almost a year since we started this other thing. And hopefully we start shooting later this year. But yeah, it's crazy.
Is there a theme to the kind of characters you're drawn to that you feel like you haven't seen scripts in the industry cross your desk?
No, not really. I mean, I always gravitate towards more like darker indie kind of vibes. I always kind of want to go complete opposite of who I am because it's more of a challenge, and it's fun to go to work and be someone completely different rather than kind of being someone very similar to who you are. But I think it just really depends. For me, with the writing stuff, I've been taking it from a lot of personal experience, what I've been kind of going through the last 3 years, really, and putting that out there in a way that's not completely exploiting everything. But I'll call Jimmy and be like, dude, this is really affecting me in a way that I want to put it out there, and this is what I want to say, and this is the story that I want to tell, and how can we make it work without being going too personal into my life. But yeah, I think I really get inspired just by moments and things that happen to me or my friends. And obviously no one will be writing that story because it's not happening to them. So if you can make something that's really affected you personally and turn it into something amazing, I think it's really helpful mentally too for yourself to like process and get over everything, but also just extremely satisfying to play that out, get it all out there, and make something incredible out of it. So,
yeah, I think artists, it's everything has a positive and a negative, right? Like I think on the one hand, artists tend to be more sensitive and feel more emotions, and that can bring all of the challenges that brings in life. But there's also such a gift to being an artist because to have an outlet from which to express what you're feeling and express like the human experience is also like a tremendous gift to have in life.
Yeah, and Carly, there's a huge like difference also between kind of like what we've been doing with these films and the way we work as artists and creatives than maybe a lot of people think the industry works. Like there's, when we're making films like this, we're just like, we're freelance kind of workers. We're like, all right, we got to come up with it. We got to be responsible. You got to raise the funds to make it. You got to separate the two, there's just so many. And then, you say we need 30 days and then they say, okay, we'll give you 15 to shoot it, so there's just so much compromise and there's a certain amount of leadership that I feel like all the heads have to have, and Ashley has proven herself time and time again as far as like being like a boss or whatever you want to call it, like just like stepping up and being like, this is what we need, this is, and a time where there's pressure, and being able to just bring it together. And when we're making something, we're not really, we don't have analytics, we're not serving the industry. We're just serving our own creativity and we're serving our own imaginations. We're just like, this is what we need to make and how do we make this and be responsible to everyone we work with and create a good environment and all that stuff.
Hearing you guys, I think it's clear to me why this is a good fit for an NFT project. And maybe that'll get us to, let's get into the nitty gritty here and kind of leave people with exactly how they can start to participate. But it's definitely like, let's take bold bets. We'll put the bold Ashley in a bathtub, risque thing out there. We're like true creatives who want to be able to make the art that we want to make. And we have all sorts of industry constraints we're working within to do that. And so how can we find models for this that like, again, give us a little bit more leverage within that industry or just help us make it in an artistic way that we want to make it. And there's a lot of shared ethos there with call it the Web3 ethos, which is the the broad term for NFTs, crypto, blockchain. So Vincent, why don't you break down for us kind of in the closing here, like if folks want to come and be deeply engaged in this project, the chance to go to the premiere, maybe meet Ashley, talk to Jimmy about filmmaking, like
Perfect.
What do they do?
So it's interesting everything that was said here, because I learned a lot about the movie industry from this project, and the economics suck. Artists, painters can do well. Painters can sell something on Instagram that they make a canvas for and sell it for $200. And artists with galleries do well. The economics are quite favorable for fine artists that we're used to dealing with. But the economics of movies suck. And you've got all these amazing creatives out there making amazing material that funnels to a few studios and a few streaming platforms, whereas everyone's paying monthly for and they're just throwing the shit at the wall based on their algorithms. It's tough. It's you'd be shocked how hard it is for anything that's not a AAA title to kind of even make its money back. So it's the best fit we've had so far for the blockchain space. That's is what I love about it. It's a better fit than art. Art is niche. Collectible things are niche. We had the whole world jump on board because they thought they could make some money, but now we're in a space where most of them have dropped out, and you're with an audience that's into niche things, collectibles and art, which is more reflective of the real world. But the whole world loves movies, the whole world loves owning movies, and the whole world would love to have better movies. So it's just a perfect thing a perfect kind of the type of art to plug into this space that we're growing. So this version, this version, the movie is made. So we're not asking anyone to finance anything, to have faith in anything. You go onto Nifty Gateway right now. The collection is available for 7 days. It's up to 10,000, and whatever we sell in 7 days becomes the supply. It's not conventional PFP in any means. There's no traits. There's no artificial economics, mechanics. Your collectible character is something you want to have because it's cool. It unlocks your movie. It gives you access to kind of the online Twitter Spaces and Discord lives are going to do. It also gives you access to live events, the first one being Wednesday at the Wisdom in downtown LA, which is a really cool.
That's Wednesday the 10th.
So,
if you're listening to this past that, you've missed it.
Sorry. But there'll be others. This is just to show, and between me and you and everyone watching, we're spending $40,000 to put that party on to show that what you're being part of is real. We don't need to do that because we're not asking anyone to fund anything. We're just trying to prove a model here and open up the whole world for every movie company. Everyone in the movie industry is watching this. I'm talking to Stampede, Legendary Pictures, Gala Games, everyone that wants to bring entertainment content to Web3. They're all watching, and they've all either got hundreds of millions of dollars they're sitting on, or they've spent tens of millions already on Web3 content, but they're scared to bring it here because they don't know how they're going to get the money back. So we're being ballsy with this and going out and putting something out there that will kind of benefit everyone, benefit mass adoption for the blockchain, benefit filmmakers, benefit the movie industry. And I think it's a cool thing for people to be a part of now. So this is nothing, and we don't want to remotely sell it as a PFP project. Nothing against them, but it's not my world. My world is art and creatives.
And so they go onto Nifty Gateway. It's available now. You can go, and you'll get to be a part of the online community. You'll get to go to the parties.
Yes.
Presumably the online stuff will include some engagement with cast and Jimmy and cast and crew. And so you'll get access to the community of the film creators themselves, right? For people who are big fans of anybody who's on the screen right now.
Yeah, so Lindsay Pellas is coming into the Discord live week after next, and then we're going to line up some of the other cast members. And I think what's really cool to hear from though is Jimmy. We had and also we had the DP on a Twitter space yesterday, and it's cool. They never get any exposure, and people are really interested from the creative aspect behind the film, why certain shots were chosen, and bringing those guys in is actually really interesting to fans of a movie to hear everything about what makes a movie. So it's pretty cool.
And we should say Paris Hilton is in this film, I think, and she's been an awesome champion of NFTs and got it early and has been very vocal about this technology.
Yeah. Paris is in the movie. She's got her own NFT thing going on, so she didn't want to get involved with this.
Conflate the two,
which is understandable. And it's not. And when I say Paris, it's not her; it's her people. It's the money machine, and so that's okay. That's all right. But it's cool. She's in the movie. And the audience, her audience will love it because her character's fun in this movie.
So we alluded to this rebate, this kickback earlier, Vincent, and I really want you to maybe say a little bit more about this. And I want to be careful about how we phrase this because obviously there's lots of questions around money and NFTs that has not fully been solved. But I really love this concept of a new way to help finance films and get new voices heard, while also the people who contribute to that having a financial incentive the way that a traditional Hollywood producer would have. And it not just having to be sort of not an act of charity, but not just have to be, oh, I'm buying a collectible to support this. How can I really be more like a producer in something from a financier's perspective? So talk about this rebate model that you've set up.
I mean, 100%, you hit the nail on the head. There will be a model where you buy an NFT and that is your share and you own that share and that is your producer share, 100%, and that will work and that will be very beneficial when we and there's a few systems that we'll bring to the table in the future. And obviously there's a lot of SEC scrutiny now, whether you're soliciting investment and so.
To be clear, when you're saying there will be, you're not talking about specifically with what you're doing right now, you're saying broadly.
We're not asking you to fund it. So it's a different animal if we're not asking you to fund it, because you can take part in the profits if you want, but there aren't going to be any profits. We'll be lucky to break even on this to prove the model for everything we've got coming behind. So the reason that we did, when we talk about a kickback at this one, it's a tiny sprinkling of what the value proposition is. The movie's made, everything is here. We're not promising to build things in the future with the money you give us. You're simply now buying your new version of what it is to own a movie. But I wanted to show a version of what could be a kickback mechanism. It works for this, may not work for other products, but it's simply a rebate function. And a rebate in the same way you buy your laundry detergent, and obviously you then hand in the coupon and you get some money back. It's the same version of that. I mean, you're not going to get rich off what the rebate is. The equivalent could be if you think of staking crypto, but we're saying we're going to reward long-term holders, and basically it'll almost be like giving you a coupon. We're going to give you a few months down the road, we'll announce that there is a rebate available for NFT holders. They come to the website and get and show us their NFT and get their rebate. Token gated website.
I like the rebate terminology because I've said a number of times on this show that I think this all goes mainstream when folks don't expect to be millionaires off of the NFTs they're buying it. They're buying it fundamentally for other reasons. But I think there are really interesting ways and models in which NFTs can subsidize experiences, which is sort of what you're getting at. And in the film world, actually, I'll give an example, which is there's a guy named Micah Johnson, ex-MLB player turned artist, who's created this amazing collection of NFTs called Akus and Akutars, and he's working on making a film with this. And one idea he threw out, this is not to say this is what he's going to do, but is like, you sell 1 million NFTs, right? If it's like it's a huge, like, blockbuster style film, 1 million people are going to want to see it. Those 1 million people get to watch the film first. They pay $20 for this NFT, whatever is kind of a standard price for, a film premiere essentially. And then after that, for other people who want to watch it, they will sell that NFT to the next person, right? And maybe they sell it for $17. Like maybe they don't make all their money back, but they just got a subsidized experience where now they were able to watch it early for only $3 because they were able to sell a thing for $17. I don't know that ever gets mass adoption because I think there are a number of obstacles to that. But I think that's really interesting and starting to drive at the different kinds of ways that NFTs and really smart contracts is what we're talking about can improve the economics for experiences without making you a millionaire overnight.
Exactly. And you hit the nail on the head that the space will be real when everyone realizes that not everything is about is speculation. A version of NFTs with DeFi can be for sure, but this space is we're understanding digital ownership, and what that constitutes can be all sorts of weird and wonderful things. We're launching our first NFT documentary on next Friday, which is a documentary about NFTs by an NFT artist, and we're selling it as an NFT. And it's just...
I got to plug the project I worked on, which is the same concept.
Oh, wow.
Dan Sickles. It's great.
Fun, and it's an artist that's already in the space, and we produced it. It was a fun experience producing it as well. But it's, again, just pushing the envelope to what can be owned and why and where the value is. And it's about wanting to own, have it, collect it for all of the other reasons, or all of the reasons that you want to own something in the real world that doesn't have a purpose, without it being a kind of a financial instrument. But I mean, Aku's idea is brilliant, and there's a few other people with ideas of how to essentially crowdfund. It's the new version of crowdfunding, but you own your share. That's the massive difference. Why people say, well, why don't you just crowdfund? But then that comes scrutiny at the moment.
With SEC. I mean, this was the challenges I ran into was we were trying to do this and we were literally going to issue a security, and then you look into what it takes to issue a security and it's a lot. It adds about $1 million to the budget just to get through that those legal fees, and you're like, we're an independent film that can't add $1 million to our budget. And so it some of those laws, I think, need to be updated and modernized.
But the version where they pay for it, like a couple of people got rare ones of the 18 and over NFTs. A couple of people got rare ones and flipped them straight away. So they bought their movie and then they flipped it to someone else who now will own the movie without them watching it. But that type of model that you're talking about, where there's enough of an audience to buy enough to fund the movie, it can work because then you're just buying the movie and kind of selling it on you're not pitching investment to anyone. So that's the key. I mean, it's all these models that we're going to experiment with that you completely are off the SEC's radar is the key. And the beauty of this space is it's a whole new world. We can make all this shit up as we go along. There aren't overalls at the moment, which is a good thing and a bad thing, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we've seen the negative ramifications of that recently in the space, to be sure.
I think everyone's smartened up. We've had that correct. We had a massive correction in the art space last year, which was based on the fact that everyone came in and thought they could make money from flipping art when they weren't into collecting art. Now if you go and look at the numbers on Nifty, Makerspace, Super Rare, it's more like a real art market. It's not a completely blown out proportion. Kind of speculative investment from unsophisticated investors. PFP space was the same way, and now that's had a huge correction. And there are some great PFP projects that are pushing hard and build real community and have longevity. I mean, but as much as people like to shit on Bored Apes, it's an amazing brand they've built, and they're kind of will be kind of a staple of this space going forward. I think they are the Facebook, the Apple of the 90s, and there will be a few other brands that pop up like that seems crazy now, but 30 years down the road, they were pioneers of the kind of mass adoption direction.
So here's my prediction, my bold prediction that I'll put out there related to this, which is, and hopefully it'll give folks a sense of like what I think this space is or where I think it's going. Like, I think the litmus test is in the future. Right now, people have their dating profiles and they'll link to their Instagram account to give future dates a better sense of who they are. I think people will link to their wallets, which I don't know that by that point if they'll be called NFT wallets. And that'll be another way to give people a sense of who you are, because you'll have these things. You'll have your movies, you'll have your concert tickets that will be NFTs that you'll have on there, and that just economically will make sense for artists. And I think receipts will be issued, frankly, as NFTs. And so your coffee shop that you go to every day, like that would be a powerful thing, Ashley, for like your fans, like see you love some particular kind of coffee shop, like that would be amazing for the coffee shop. And so all of these things I think will really be where this space goes. And soon, not soon, but in the next X number of years, people will start linking their wallets to their dating profiles. That's my bold prediction.
Makes sense.
It makes sense. We'll see how long it takes to get there. People are very skeptical of this space as of now.
Trash? If we've got NFT receipts and we've just found NFT.
Well, you curate it.
No. We've just built an NFT ticketing platform called NFT Ticks, and it's fun, and we're doing a lot with it. But I'm realizing some people will just want to have tickets to go to an event, and that's it, and it exists forever. And we have to. So you're going to everyone. There will be if every receipt was an NFT in 20 years' time. There's a lot of trash NFTs just sitting around that we didn't need that thing to last forever. So we're going to have to work out what to do with all the NFT trash.
We're going to have some really big servers. Is what we're going to have. Some really big servers sitting places to hold all of our digital trash. And there's lots of negative ramifications to all of this, right? Which is like if you want things to be kept private, like you don't want everything sort of on a blockchain. But there's lots of ways we can deal with that. Awesome. Okay, last question. Crypto, NFTs, the blockchain, they get a lot of bad press, frankly. And I mean bad both in terms of sometimes it's negative press and some of that is fair and some of that is not fair. And also bad, just like bad journalism. Like literally facts are wrong just constantly when people report about this industry. Yeah. Ashley, I'm sure you've had your fair share of just like bad press, inaccurate press. What do you think is the biggest misperception about you?
I don't know. I guess like when people meet me or whatever, I mean, I'm very much like a shy person. I feel like I talk way too much when you get to know me, and if I don't know you that well, I'm just very quiet, and I'm very much an observer. Like that, I observe everything, and I think people they just misunderstand who I am as a person, because then once they get to know me, they're like, oh my God, she's so sweet. Like, and it's not like I'm a bitch to anybody. I'm just quiet. And I think it's just because I feel not uncomfortable. I don't know. I'm not really doing a good job of telling myself. Yeah.
No, I think that's totally fair. Like, I think quiet people, I think you're getting at something real. Or like, and people who are famous, people assume like, oh, you must be extroverted or like, very out there. And oftentimes people are not. Actually, I think actors are often introverts, and that's jarring for folks who maybe don't know that.
And I think a lot of people too, like with anyone, they relate you to who you play on TV or whatever. And so they kind of have, an idea of who you are, in that character, but then in real life, they kind of expect the same thing. So when they meet you, they're like, oh my God, you're like totally different than, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yeah, I mean, you're an actor, but,
yeah. And you've said you in particular are drawn towards characters that are different than who you are. Like some actors, I think, play characters that actually are kind of like them. That's clearly not the case with you. Okay. Actual last question. I know I said that was the last question, but I have to ask, thoughts on the PLL reboot? Have you watched it?
I have not seen it yet. And, we really didn't have anything to do with the reboot. From what I know, it's doing well. I wish all those girls the best. I mean, I just don't know.
Do you have advice for them?
Huh?
Do you have advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, you just never know what's going to happen. We didn't know how big PLL was going to be. We were kind of just like excited to do this TV show, and then it became this huge thing. And I think it's just staying grounded and staying, as close to who you are as you can. Like, don't, get a big ego or whatever, because anytime, and these girls, I think, are relatively newer, some of the actors. And if this show goes, I mean, their lives change. And I think it's really important to surround yourself with good, positive people, and just stay very grounded and focused and not really let it get to your head, because then shit just goes down from there.
Well, thank you all so much. This was so fun. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. I really am fascinated by the subject of how Hollywood and film and TV and entertainment in general will be affected by NFTs. And I appreciate you sharing this hour with me and giving your perspectives.
Thank you, Carly.
Very good. Awesome. Very good questions.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of Overpriced JPEGs. If you liked this conversation, if you liked this episode, please go ahead and hit subscribe. It helps me out, it helps the show out, and it means you will get alerts and updates when we post new content. Thanks again.